Hey guys, back to another episode of Henry Reacts, where I react to Apple's latest keynote, all that fun jazz, everything that Apple released. So I wanted to exclusively talk about my reactions, but also my thought process on all the new iPhones, the new iPads, and the new Apple Watch. So let's go ahead and get started. So how I wanted to do this is I wanted to pull up Apple's website, and I wanted to briefly kind of break everything down into what we thought was going to happen, what did happen, etc. And my reactions to really everything. So I really wanted to start off with this entry-level iPad, which is how the presentation started. So for $329, you're essentially getting the 8th generation iPad, but with the same chip that the iPhone 11 Pro has, and you get double the amount of storage, which is something that I've been saying for a while, which was one of the big takeaways of the entry-level iPad, and why I kept recommending the higher tier or opting in for iCloud storage. Because storage fills up quickly when you start, doing presentations, getting PowerPoints done, stuff like that. It can really eat down everything going on. And one thing that I really enjoy about this iPad is the fact that it can run, we'll get to that in a second, that it can run iOS 15 so well with iPad OS 15, the same thing. But that's besides the point. I just really enjoy how they kept the same design as the previous generation, which goes against of what a lot of people are saying, which is, oh, they didn't make the bezel smaller or the screen bigger. It's like, everyone that I know of, customers and family members alike, who buy this iPad, aren't looking for the latest design. They're just looking for the latest iPad. And they're just like, well, that's cool and all, but will it work for me? They don't care if it has a laminated display. They don't care about X, Y, and Z. They just want to make sure it has a home button and make sure that it runs smoothly. And this does exactly those two things. Now, speaking of running smoothly, this part I'm kind of salty about, if not very salty about, is Apple brought center stage to all the iPads they released today, which was this iPad and the iPad mini, which we're talking about in a second. The center stage feature is something that I really wish my $899 iPad Pro had, but it does not. It's fine, but with COVID and everything, I think that center stage should have been that one feature that should have been developed through software at least, where it can act like it's following you around, even though it doesn't use a wide-angle lens. It's just cropped in. I feel like that's just a feature that should be added to the other iPad Pros at the very least, but this iPad is obviously just a refresh of last generation, which was Apple's best-selling iPad for pretty obvious reasons. So really cool. Like this design that they kept it the same. Now let's talk about the other release, which is a way more than we were expecting. So let me be clear. This event, we weren't expecting there to be an iPad event at all. We weren't expecting any iPads. But instead, we got, right off the bat, iPads started the show, and they pretty much got us all hyped up for the Apple Watch Series 7 and the iPhone. How beautiful this iPad mini is. I am really wanting to get this, and I'm seriously considering getting one. Not even as my daily drive, well, maybe my daily driver, but I wouldn't get it to replace the iPad I have now. I would love this for an everyday tablet, because this is just a lot nicer to carry around for one, because of how thin, light, and small it is. But it's just slightly better than carrying your iPhone around when it comes to wanting to do the basics. And I just love that it has Touch ID. I feel like this was a really amazing step forward to have something that just works really well. And the fact that it has an 8.1 inch display, I mean, that's like an inch less than the older style 9.7 inch iPads used to be. And one thing that I didn't see Apple talk about, but I saw the specifications later on. Oh, and yes, it has center stage. It has a wider display, which wider helps you with watching videos. Because one thing that is kind of frustrating on iPads is when you're watching a video on, let's say, YouTube or Apple TV, is that you have to punch in the video if you want it to take up the whole screen or most of the screen so you don't have black bezels around it. Well, with the iPad mini, because it's wider, it is way thinner black bars around it, which makes it way more enjoyable to watch videos and TV on the iPad, which just spectacular. And I'm just really digging the iPad mini overall. So the iPad mini definitely stole the show. Like, I feel like that was like the best thing that Apple released. Yes. Was it? Yeah, that wasn't yesterday, it was the day before. Time flies by when you're making videos. So let's talk about the Apple Watch last, because the Apple Watch deserves its own spotlight. It deserves the last bit of this video. I want to talk about iPhones. So for the new iPhones, I was this close to getting the iPhone 13 mini. This close. And there was one feature that made me buy the 13 Pro over the mini, and I'll talk about that in a second. So let's go over the iPhone 13 first. Oh, by the way, I was wrong. Apple kept the iPhone 12, and you can still buy the iPhone 12, just not the Pro, and you can buy it for $599. And I cannot say this like strongly enough. That's a really, really good phone. I loved my iPhone 12, but the only downside to the iPhone 12 versus the iPhone 13 is going to be battery life for the everyday user. If you care about cinematography or battery life, you have to get the 13 over the 12. Don't waste your money on it. But if you're just, wanting something that's just a regular phone, honestly, the 12 is going to be best for you. But for me, where my biggest important thing for me of what I always get in an iPhone is always the camera quality and what you can do with cinematography on the iPhone. And most of my videos I shoot on an iPhone or a GoPro or something portable. And that's my video style that I like doing. So when it came to if I wanted the 13 or 13 Pro, kind of differs. So let's talk about the iPhone 13 and why I think you should get this phone ahead. And I already said 2 reasons why. The third is that smaller notch. Like, the fact that notch is smaller just fills me with so much joy. And the fact that they were able to make the lenses wider without making the bump larger, even better. One thing that I saw on the spec sheets online that you don't really see here, and this was actually really interesting. So one feature that the iPhone 13 and 13, the main difference between the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro was the display brightness on both phones. What they didn't talk about in the keynote is the iPhone 13 actually has the same display that the 13 Pro has, even the brightness. So if you really care about the brightness of your screen, it is way, way better on the 13 than it was on the 12. That's pretty much it, other than the cinematography feature, which I haven't talked about yet, so I'm talking about it now. Basically, it's bokeh effect for video. That's as simple as it is. Bokeh effect on video is something that I've wanted for so long in a phone. Not necessarily in a, like a cheap camera you can buy off the market, but the fact that it's inside a phone is just perfect for me. And I thoroughly enjoy being able to focus in and out on subjects when making video. And the fact that you can just edit in RAW and change the focus on the phone is just crazy. Like, that is just beautiful. iPhone 13 Pro. Here's why I bought this phone versus buying the iPhone 13 mini. And it came down to one feature. Well, two features, actually. Yeah, you have the bigger battery. Yeah, you have the larger screen. Obviously, it's a bigger phone. It's not a mini. But the two things was the macro lens, which you can take macro photos and video on the iPhone 13 Pro. Which macro video and photos is something I've wanted for a long, long time. And the fact that I can get this on a phone just, oh, it makes me so happy. Like that, I've wanted this feature for so long. And it I mean, yeah, the design looks nice, but like just the over quality of being able to zoom in more just makes me happy. Like, I don't care if you can't zoom in, 10x optical zoom. I care about how does the camera quality look when you zoom in. And it's just so much better on the iPhone 13 Pro. I really like this customize your, essentially your camera profile, where you can change it to a vibrant warm or cool. And it's just a lot easier than having to mess with Photoshop for those who are like on a time crunch. It's just a lot easier to use. And I just really like the overall output that you get out of it. And I know some of these photos are in best case scenario, but realistically though, I think that most people are going to get the same photo quality, if not better, for the professionals out there that like to push the phone to the limit. And I think that this is going to be a really, really great phone to have. And that's one of the main reasons why I got it. Now, what I didn't get is I did not get the 1 terabyte option. I got the 128 gigs, which lets you know real quick, the 128 gigs does not output the ProRes video feature at 4K 30 frames per second, only 1080p 30 frames per second. But with how large the video codec is and how long it takes to actually like format that and make it look good, honestly, for me, I didn't really see much need in it, and I don't want to spend the extra money on it. I know it's not that much more with the plan that I have, but I'm trying to save everything I can, really, when it comes to something like this. And I still get the macro video at full capacity, which is what I cared about. It's just not the ProRes. Now, here's a feature that should have come out last year, and it didn't, and it's okay, for the most part. And that is ProMotion! I really wanted this feature. I always wanted to have a 120Hz display like I have it on the iPad. And they really went out of their way to promote this feature. Like, they're really pushing on it. But, man, that A15, ooh, it's gonna be a blast. I'm really excited for this phone. Like, I'm really, really excited. But I did not buy the blue color, only because it's a very pastel-y blue, which I bet in person it's gonna be the blue color that I wanted last year, but it wasn't available in the Pro models. But like, I got the space gray, which is now called graphite, because it's a little bit more of a gray this year, which I prefer, rather than having the more light gray. This is more of a solid gray, which is what I'm trying to go for. But I'm hoping that when I see it in person, it's this like rich gray. I'm contradicting myself so many times there, but this is the color I decided to get, just because everything I have is in space gray or graphite, other than my watch. So, kind of keep that color scheme going. Keep it going. Okay, last but not least, I have some problems with the Series 7. The Apple Watch Series 7 is essentially the Series 6, but it has a much larger screen, way more curvature design, and last but not least, I mean, way more durable. And a lot of this was because they were able to curve the glass enough to where they were able to make it thicker, so it's less likely to crack or shatter. Honestly, this is one of those designs that I would really want to see in person to really know and understand how big the screen actually feels, and if it's something that is aesthetically something that is more pleasing than the design of the Series 6. Because honestly, I love my Series 6, and I quite enjoyed and enjoy, like plural, like current tense, the Series 6. Now, one thing that I do want on the Series 7 that I don't have on the Series 6 is going to be the larger screen where you have way more real estate to type on, which they have a full keyboard now. That's pretty cool. And scribble, where you have a lot more space on there. But also these watch faces that you can put two large watch faces next to each other. I've always wanted a feature like that because I was never able to have more than one on a screen, and I really wanted that. So really, other than the screen, there's not really that much of a like, hey, you should really buy this watch over the Series 6. And if display size is what you care about most and you care about that aesthetically, you're really going to love this watch. But honestly, I would get the Series 6. Not this. I would get the Series 6. Like, if you already have a Series 6, keep it. But for the Series 7, like, unless you have something older, I don't know if I'd recommend it. And I find these aluminum colors very interesting because they pretty much got rid of space gray. They got rid of space gray because everything's like graphite now. I'll tell you what, I'm really digging this new red. The red looks a lot cleaner than before. Honestly, if I could get one of these watches and it not hurt my skin, or maybe just wear it every once in a while, and then when I get a reaction, just switch my watch for my titanium. I honestly, for finishes wise, I would definitely get the red or the blue. The red just stands out really nicely, but the thing about the blue watch is that it's gonna fit with a lot more outfits that I own rather than the red. But the red definitely, it gives this punchy vibe out of it. I don't like this green. If I had 11 Pro still, I would definitely buy that green. But I definitely don't like that more than the other colors. But that's just me personally. That's pretty much it. Everything else, I mean, new phone cases, new Apple wallets, stuff like that, just new accessories. But let me know what y'all think in the comments, because yes, the Apple Watch Series 7 does not have a squared off design like we all thought it was going to be. But honestly, I think the Series 7, with everything going on, is going to be the best watch that you can buy still. Just, I just still love this watch, even though it's so much like the Series 6. I just have a lot of mixed feelings because I was really hyped up for a square design. But overall, this was a really awesome event. Really was just mind-blowingly different from what we thought it was going to be. But again, let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.